Good morning. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a podcast brought to you by Joy's House, and we are so happy that you're here. Caregiver Crossing, if you haven't been here before, you should know that we are a podcast that was created just for you, the caregiver. I'm Tina McIntosh.
I'm Terri Stacy. We're here every week with experts from around the country, and we're hoping to provide some comfort and certainly resources and a whole lot of joy to our caregivers. This podcast serves to embrace family caregivers of today and tomorrow. And as Tina said, thank you all so much for being here today. Tina?
Listener, you're stuck with us. It's just Terri and me today. And we want to talk with you about something that's really serious. And I think it's overlooked a lot in our communities. And that is the idea of elder abuse. And so, Terri, I know we don't have a script we're working off for this. You know, this is you and me talking about what elder abuse is and what people can do to both prevent it and then help, once they've identified it, to take a next step to making things right. And so I want to ask you, when you think about elder abuse and what it is, what kinds of things come to mind for you?
I think it's changed. I will tell you, it has changed my description as I've learned what falls in abuse. And it's not about, well, it is about that word abuse. The first thing you might think of is that they're injuries, physical injuries. And that does count as elder abuse. And it certainly is. But it's also taking advantage of. It's stealing money from. It's taking prescriptions out of their cabinets. It's neglect, I think, kind of falls under abuse as well. So it can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
What do you think? Am I right?
You're spot on. Like I pulled up, there's a website that is InCase. It's in-case.org. And
they're fantastic.
They are wonderful. And they've got this elder abuse section. And, you know, they do talk about the things you said, of course, physical abuse. So anyone that inflicts pain or injury onto someone, the financial exploitation. I mean, Terri, you and I have done Caregiver Crossing as a radio show for a long time before the podcast. And my goodness, how many times we had somebody from the Attorney General, office or someone else come in and talk about those scams. And as I get older, I see it in my life or in others, and it's disgusting to me. But it's hard to go away, and it's hard to catch those bad guys that are doing the scams. But every month when I had to talk with the BBB and elder abuse or scams targeting the elderly, it is up at the top every single month. And that group you're talking about, InCase, they are a fantastic group. I picture them like knights in shining armor. It's a group from the prosecutor's office, from the BBB, from the state police. It's a group this group before COVID would go to retirement communities. And they'd sit and they would talk about, look, this is what we need to talk to you all about right now. And so that's a little bit how I've learned about elder abuse is through that great organization. Yeah, that really organization actually stands for Indiana Council Against Senior Exploitation, just in case anybody's wondering about that. But yeah, I mean, the annual loss by victims of financial abuse is estimated to be at least, I think that amount is it 36.5 billion dollars. So
I think it would loss. I think it might surprise you to know too that comes from family members.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you mentioned the pills. Yeah. We always hear lock up your pills if you have teenagers around, but it can be a lot of people. So there's all that. There's also the emotional and psychological. So, people who harass or intimidate or humiliate folks. And then the neglect, you said there's sexual abuse too, which is horrible. Yeah. And then you mentioned neglect. That is something I feel like I've seen a lot in my 22-year career at Joy's House is there are a lot of family members who just tag out and leave the aging adult to fend for themselves. And I just can't imagine. So I want to talk about how you spot it. So, with physical abuse, I think it's a little bit easier because you can see bruises, and we know older adults bruise so much easier, and you can broken bones and things like that you really can't explain. But how do you see things like neglect or emotional and psychological abuse? Any idea from what you've learned over the years, Terri?
Well, from what I've understand from this group is that the elderly in particular, because oftentimes that abuse is coming from a family member, they stay quiet about it. And it's difficult to spot because there's embarrassment, there's shame, and there's a lot of emotions, as you said, that happen during that time. So it sometimes takes an eye from outside of the family to really dig deep if you have a gut feeling that something's wrong, because oftentimes grandma, grandpa aren't going to tell you that they think that somebody's taken money out of their purse, or that all of a sudden all their medicines in their cabinets are gone, because they know it's in their family and they don't want to say anything. It's hard. That's hard to find. It's hard to detect. It's hard to detect. We've had it in our family. And it's very difficult to get oftentimes to get grandma, grandpa to open up and say, well, I think it might be,
it's a great point.
Daughter. I don't know how you change that other than groups like this coming in and saying it's okay to talk about this and to tell us so we can help you. It's okay.
And you're not alone. I think that's a big thing too. You're not alone, and you've not lost your mind. And that's hard for folks. They're like, well, maybe I did this or maybe I did that.
Such a good point, because the abuser oftentimes will make you think, that make grandma or grandpa think that, oh, you're not, you're in your right mind. With senility, with dementias, sometimes it's, what are you going to believe? That's what a person in the family or whoever's abusing the elderly may say.
There are up to 5 million, by the way, 5 million older adults who are abused every year in some way, shape, or form.
It's just unacceptable. So it's unacceptable, and it's cruel, and it's cold, and it's awful.
And how do you know what to do then? So if I suspect that there's abuse of my grandmother, like what do I do? I think there are some things that come naturally. Maybe talk to your doctor, or talk to someone in the medical field. If you're in Indiana, you can call Central Indiana, call 211 and report there. But it makes me wonder, Terri, calling the police. I don't know how that escalates or how that is carried out. I don't know how much that they're trained in this kind of thing. So,
it's a good point. It's a good point. And as the founder of Joy's House Adult Day Services, then in all your years, have you seen it?
Oh, for sure.
And what did you do?
Well, there are times that we have called Adult Protective Services. We're bound by law if we suspect some kind of abuse or neglect to do that. And so we've called Adult Protective Services. In Indiana, that number is 800-992-6978. But you could always look that up. We've worked with the folks, so that's legally, we're bound to that. We've also worked with the folks at SACOA, which is our local area agency on aging. We've met with the folks from the Attorney General's office before, because they're very helpful, particularly with the scams and things like that. So I think it's important for people to understand, if you do have this experience in your family with your loved one, you are not alone. And the worst thing that you can do is pretend that nothing's happening. And so,
it is, because it's not going to get better.
Right. Making a phone call to someone is really important. So I just want to really encourage folks to do that. I know it's a heavy topic for us to talk about, but it happens all the time. I mean, we're hearing that there are millions and millions of people, up to 5 million older adults, who are abused in some way, shape, or form every year in the United States. And so, just encourage people to reach out and get that help. And if you don't know what to do, you can always get a hold of me at tina@joyshouse.org, and we will help put you in touch with the right people. You don't have to use our services to use our help.
Your resources.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, Terri, that's it for us this week.
Okay,
we'll be back next week. We want to thank AARP for their sponsorship and just everything they're doing for aging adults in the community. And thanks to Joy's House for hosting, and thanks to Terri Stacy for always being wonderful and being a part of Caregiver Crossing, just because she cares about you as the caregiver.
I do. I learned a lot from you. That's for sure.
All right, friends, we will see you next week here on Caregiver Crossing. Have a good week.
Bye.